Welcome to Good News to Go. I'm Ren.
And I'm Mabel.
And we're bringing you the brightest stories from around the globe.
This week, a painting was rescued from the Nazis.
And a breakthrough in busting Alzheimer's toxins in the brain.
Flood-resistant housing and fewer fires in Brazil's rainforest are huge wins for the environment.
And you will not believe how small the world's tiniest snake is. 5 fast, feel-good stories. Today we're diving into a game changer in disaster relief and climate resilience. So meet the DropPod, a prefab home that can be dropped into flooded zones or anywhere housing is needed.
So they're developed by an architecture company in Indonesia, and they're sleek, modular homes that are lightweight, expandable, and can be deployed on almost any terrain, so urban, rural, or even flooded, because they're built in these 4 feet tall surfaces so that they can't be flooded.
It's crazy how versatile they are. Whether you're facing rising sea levels or, there's just a housing crisis shortage, DropPod has you covered.
And one of the really cool parts is that they only take a week to build, and you don't need cranes or heavy equipment. You just drop it, plug it in, and then you're good to go.
So starting off with a sustainable innovation that will actually save lives.
We've got a wild story today. So an 18th century painting looted by Nazis was found hanging on a wall in a real estate listing in Argentina.
Yes, but the story of how it was recovered is actually crazy. So the painting is Portrait of a Lady, which was painted by Italian artist Vittore Ghislandi. And it was stolen from a Dutch art dealer during Nazi occupation in Amsterdam in 1940.
So fast forward to 2025, someone spots it in a photo from a property listing, and then they tip off Dutch investigators who contact the real estate agency.
But by the time the authorities arrive at this house, the painting is gone. But that leads to 4 police raids across the city, including one at the home of the daughter of a Nazi official who fled to Argentina in 1951.
So it turns out he had taken the painting with him, and his daughter and her husband were charged with concealing stolen art, but eventually they handed it over to the authorities.
And so now, happy ending, it's back in the hands of the rightful owners. But it's so crazy, what was going through their minds when they included it on the property listing? Well, happy update from the Amazon. So fires in Brazil's rainforest dropped by 65% this July compared to last July.
Which is actually the lowest recording since monitoring began. So satellite data shows just 552 miles of the Amazon burned as opposed to 1,500 miles in July of last year.
That's a huge improvement, especially after last year's devastating fires linked to El Nino and the severe droughts.
And while it is a win, experts warn that the Amazon still remains vulnerable. Obviously, climate change and human activity still pose huge risks.
Definitely, and we do not want to gloss over that, but it is good to see that with the right policies and enforcements, we can make a real difference.
And this milestone was right in time for Brazil, who's actually hosting the UN Climate Change Conference in a few months. So our next story is about a tiny protein that's showing promise in dismantling the toxic clumps in the brain that are linked to Alzheimer's disease.
So researchers at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital have uncovered that MIDKIND, which is a type of protein, plays a protective role against Alzheimer's.
Yeah, so in our research, we found out that MIDKIND prevents amyloid beta, which is the sticky protein that we mentioned that's associated with Alzheimer's, from forming those harmful clumps in the brain and eventually causing it to atrophy.
And no one knows for sure why any one person gets Alzheimer's, but there's a lot of theories of what could make an impact, genetic mutations, sex, toxin exposure, and sleep history.
But I guess what scientists have discovered is that without MIDKIND, these damaging assemblies accelerate, but with it, their growth halts.
And while this is very early, so MIDKIND's full role in Alzheimer's is still being explored, but this discovery opens up potential pathways for developing new therapies. And finally, the world's smallest snake, the Barbados Threadsnake, has been rediscovered after nearly 20 years.
Yeah, it's so tiny. So it's just 3 to 4 inches long and as thin as a spaghetti strand. Oh. And it was found under a rock in central Barbados during an ecological survey by the Ministry of the Environment.
This is amazing because scientists had feared that it had gone extinct, but this rediscovery is a huge conservation win, especially because this is insane and heartbreaking. 98% of Barbados's original forests have been cleared.
That is crazy. The snake's survival is, I guess, a very hopeful sign for the island's biodiversity and a reminder of the importance of protecting our natural habitats.
Well, that's a wrap on another Good News to Go. I'm seriously not over how tiny the snake is.
I know, so cute. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe, and hit that bell for more feel-good stories.
And we will see you next week.